What is up, guys? So this video's purpose is really meant to show you guys some of the lessons that I've learned throughout taking sales calls in SMMA, but specifically in the roofing niche. And I mean, all these lessons, it's just all relative to human nature, human psychology, and people in general. And it's all relative to any niche that you're in, or quite honestly, any business model if you're trying to pursue anything outside of SMMA. But for the most part, if you're watching this, I'm assuming you're in space in this niche. And so let's get into it. So the first thing I want to preface on is this. We need to see the world for how it is, not for how people want it to be or for what they say, but this rather unlock the raw truths of the universe, human nature, and much more. And as I told you guys last time, to read the book The Born Letters, because this is one of the things that the gentleman who authored it touched on within the first few chapters, and that's as a good marketer, as a good business person, you need to see the world for how it is. And this, of course, is going to unlock things to you that you may not thought otherwise. And it's hard sometimes to accept the truth as to why things are the way they are, why governments are the way they are, why people are the way they are. And I'm not saying that the truth is nice, but what the truth will do will set you free in that you can only build if you have a foundation of truth. And so we need to see the world for how it is, not how we want it to be or for how people say they want it to be, because what people say are two completely different things than how the world actually is. And we're going to get into the first lesson right now, and that's almost all people don't want their minds changed, right? Think about it logically, guys. Think about how hard it is to change your life. Now, think about how hard it is to change the mindset and life of someone else that you've spoken to for 45 minutes. And I'm not really saying you're trying to change that person's life when it comes to the sales call itself, but what we're trying to do here is change the mindset of these people on the call and to show them that where they're at is not where they want to be. And this is exactly why it's called the discovery call, because it's meant for the prospect to discover the truth about their current situation. Now, what we do in the sales calls is ask specific directed questioning to pull them in. You're not going to, and this goes kind of morphing this into my second point, but you don't sell people when you talk. You sell people when you listen. You need to listen and you need to pull them in through directed questioning and have these questions all around the idea that they have to discover the truth about their situation. And I spoke about this in one of my earlier videos, the framework that Aaron Brewer came up with, this 10-step framework for all of his sales calls. And it's led me to be able to close, and it's hopefully leading you guys to close as well in the future if you implement some of these lessons and the truth that he and I both kind of share through our sales experience. And telling people directly what to do can often do more harm than good. And now, of course, when generalizing and making a point, there are exceptions to the rule. You know, for me, for example, I come from a sports background, and when a coach yells at you, I mean, that's pretty direct, and that's how I learned, right, when it comes to sports. But when taking the sales calls, you're not yelling at people. You're not going to tell them what they should be doing and how to live their life, because they're not going to listen to you for the most part. Kind of, you have to set the expectation though in the beginning, and telling people directly what to do is kind of the least influential thing you can do. And what some of the most influential things you can do is ask questions. It all morphs together. Everything's interconnected in the sales process. And one small part is not just a small part. It pays off long term and yields greater results than you can imagine. And telling people directly what to do on the sales calls is the least influential thing you can do. What you want to do is have them discover the truth about their situation through directed questioning. And you want their mindset to be changed. You want them to come to terms that what they're doing isn't working. And the way they think about what they're doing hasn't yielded results. And that's exactly why they're on this call, because these people aren't on the call for no reason. They're on the call because they have a problem and they want to solve those problems. And you need these people to understand that the only way they can actually solve these problems is by adopting a new mindset, by changing their behavior, changing their marketing and strategy plan. Even if they have one, you're going to be surprised how many people you ask, you're like, hey, what's the strategy? What's the marketing plan behind all this? And they just don't know. And they just don't know. And it's a lack of knowledge that most people have. They don't understand. And quite honestly, yes, they are to blame, but at the same time, it's like they're running a business. They're really busy all the time. How much more do they want to do? And that's where you come in. So that's the first lesson. And the second lesson is you don't sell people when you talk. You sell them when you listen. People need to feel understood. Why would you work with someone who doesn't understand you, who doesn't have the same maybe thinking as you, or value and mission and core long term beliefs and what they're doing? And people need to feel understood. They do. That's the truth. We're all self centered and we are not narcissistic, but like we're self-centered, and with that you need to feel understood. You need to have someone to understand you and listen to what you're saying. For example, as I'm growing this channel, I've been hopping something those I've been hopping on sale on calls with people who want to clear what they're doing, but rather asking me like deep into what it is I'm saying, some of the problems that I'm facing, they're just kind of shoving solutions down my throat without even understanding what it is that I'm talking about. And I didn't feel understood. And within the first 5, 10 minutes of this call, I'm like, okay, I don't want to work with this person just because he doesn't listen to me. And not listen to me and like, oh, he's listening to me, I'm the boss. It's like, we're here, we're on this call for a reason. I have a fucking problem. Try to help me fix it and understand it, as opposed to, shoving things down my throat and not really paying attention to me. And so being on the other side of things for me personally was really interesting to put a lot of new things into perspective. And it's the exact same way with what you're doing right now. People need to feel understood. That's why you label. That's why you reiterate back to them what they're doing, what they're currently doing, and why they aren't succeeding. And for example, when you talk about the past and burning the bridges, everything they've done in the past is meant to basically say, "You've done this. It's not working. So let's try something new." That's what we're really, really trying to get across here. And you need to become a student of emotions. You need to become a student of understanding people from their point of view. And it's difficult. And I'm not saying it's easy. None of this stuff is easy, guys. It's going to take time and effort and pure intention long term to actually start seeing results and having the intuition and gut feeling that something is wrong, something is right with these people. And you need to understand possibly micro expressions, maybe later on that'll come, but micro expressions definitely help. But you need to have a baseline of the individual before you can have micro expressions, or else it's pretty much unpredictable what they're doing, whether it's like raising their eyebrows or looking at us a little, looking up into the left or looking up into the right. And micro expressions can kind of help long term, but it just really depends on that the baseline first. But you need to find pain points, and this comes with listening, right? You don't sell people when you talk, you sell people when you listen. You need to find these pain points in these individuals, and that comes with being a student of human emotions. And you take everything on the surface level and you dive deep. That's the truth. Third lesson: do not let people off the hook. Huge, huge, huge thing here. And again, guys, if you're more on the agreeable side of things, this is so much more difficult to do than just simply stating it out loud. And it's going to, again, take time, but do not let people off the hook. If you let people off the hook, it's almost certain that they don't go with your product, that they ignore you, that they don't reach back out to you. And you guys have experienced this if you're watching this video. It's all a numbers game at the end of the day. Marketing or anything in life is a numbers game. And you have to strike when the iron is hot. Don't get off the call if somebody says they want to move forward without some sort of payment, some sort of commitment. Um, I mean, we all hear all the time, sending contracts out, people signing the contract for not doing the invoice. It's all rubbish. Don't You have to hold people accountable, guys. You have to hold people accountable, just like you and I hold ourselves accountable to everything that has happened in our lives. To hold people accountable, and you can't also let prospects dictate the frame. So many different things that morph together when it comes to do not let people off the hook. Don't let prospects take frame in a call. Don't let them get off the call if they say they're interested in something without some sort of payment or anything of that sort. And you always want to tie them down to moving forward on the call. And this isn't coming from a place of manipulation, right? There's a lot of bad stereotypes in this space, and I completely get it. But this all comes from a place of actually believing in what you're doing and wanting to help these people more than they want to help themselves. And if you want to help people more than they help themselves, that's an extremely powerful, powerful frame to come by. And it's tough to not get a close at the end of the day if that's something that you're doing. But that's also just like a really cool and unique way to think about things. Hopping on these calls, wanting to help these people more than they want to help themselves. Because if you get off the call and nothing changes for them, then nothing's going to change, and that's the truth. And that's just the truth, right? I mean, that's just the truth at the end of the day. So get some sort of payment if they want to continue. Tie people down when it comes to objection handling, in that they want to continue now. If money isn't the issue, if trust isn't the issue, hold people down, make them accountable, and you also have to make them accountable by asking these questions, guys, and being like, so why haven't you hit the numbers that you want to hit? Why aren't you closing as much as you'd like to close? And people are going to make excuses, and that's just life. That's just how things go. But you're also, again, not coming from a place of manipulation or anything. It's truly, truly caring and wanting the best in people. So that's where that comes down to. So let's see. And again, guys, I'm sure you've experienced this. It's a massive issue. I mean, it's all numbers. You're going to get so many people that sign documents, don't pay, tell you they want to move forward, don't go. I, for example, I took a sales call last week. A guy said somebody was knocking at the doors towards the end of the sales call. He wanted to hop on a call later next week, and I was like, "Yeah, let's listen. Just go and do your thing." Like he was in a rush to get off the call. And looking back now, it's probably because he didn't want to move forward. But he's like, "Okay, yeah, let's get going. Reach back out to me next week. I just need to kind of take. I need to go right now. Someone's knocking on my door." I'm like, "All right, cool. Let's talk next week." And so I reached back out early next week, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm traveling this week. Let's touch base later this week." And I'm like, "All right, sure, you're traveling with family, understood." I reached back out later that week, and I'm like, "Yeah, let's hop on a call. Like we've spent the week, going back and forth. What are we doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, something came up at my main job. I have to put aside my company right now, and I can't move forward." I'm like, "What? Like what? What?" It's so ridiculous, guys. People don't want to change their lives, but it also comes back to you and what you did on sales calls, and do they actually believe in your product, and the trust, do they see the value in what you're doing? And I could have done things, better, of course, on my end, but like the bullshit excuses is just so exhausting and painful, and that's why you tie people down, guys. And it's not like you're being mean. You're not being mean. You're doing your job, and you're being professional at what you're doing. So, fourth lesson, depending on personality, adjust pitch. Type A, type B personality is more analytic, more logical. You could adjust the pitch, and if someone doesn't really see the value, and they're more numbers driven, numbers oriented, you could just open up Google Sheet, or if you have something of that sort, where you basically lay out average leads per month, average appointments booked per month, average jobs closed per month, average price point per job, average ROI, and you can just kind of break it down that way. But it also really depends on the person themselves, and you need to have a keen understanding of the type of person you're dealing with in the sales call. And again, like everything else, you're not going to know immediately. It comes with actual practice, taking sales calls, understanding different types of people. For me personally, in the roofing niche, as maybe some of you are watching this, it's pretty standard. You're dealing with the men who have egos, who are typically type A. They don't want their minds changed. They've been conditions for the last 40, 50 years, and they think they know it all, but the truth is they don't. And you need to ask the right questions, but also be down to earth, be real, be direct with them. They don't want their time wasted. And so mostly people tend to be a little bit more logical, and you have to adjust the pitch accordingly. So let's see. And some people do need an extra boost to kind of going with what you're doing. And and thinking about it too, just in your own life. I mean, you might need an extra boost, getting waking up early, getting going to the gym early, or whatever it is. And it's not coming again from a place of manipulation, but rather actually helping the people and what they want to do. So, lesson five is people want someone who's raw and real. Guys, the amount of times I've heard on calls, "Thank you for being real. Thank you for being a legit human being." Authenticity will allow you to outcompete competition. And it's going to take you really, really far if you're just a normal human being who is ruthless in their transparency, who's open and honest, and people can also tell when you're being fake. I've spoken about this before, but people can just immediately tell when you're being fake. And that's just how we are. You can smell the bullshit off of people, and you have to be raw and authentic and you, and don't lie, and just come off as, honest, and being a ruthless communicator, and your transparency. And another point based off of this is, yes, people buy into what you're doing, but they also buy into who you are, and who you are is just you being your authentic self. And this is really a lot more prevalent, more so in Asian countries like Japan, China, and certain other countries. but they buy into who the person is. Damn, it's the noise. 1 second. Right. And so, with this being a little bit more prevalent in Asian countries, people buy into who you are as a person, in addition to everything that you're doing. If they see that you're a hard worker, if they see that you're dedicated to something outside of work and that you mean business and that you're just a pure, honest, good person and with good intentions, that's going to go a long way too. And people like working with people who they like, right? People like to buy from people who they like. And it's not just purely transactional when it comes to a service or product that you're offering, but rather who's behind it. And think about some of the more famous celebrities or more famous brands out there. I mean, they're backed by incredible people who have done this for a long time, and or even think about like your local stores, right? I mean, your local stores, your local places that tend to be more healthy. Everything's made and grown in house. You understand the people behind it, and it might not be about the price if it's expensive, but what about the mission and the long-term values of that local store, and if they're growing in-house honey or all their vegetables and fruits or whatever it is, right? So it's about the people too at the end of the day, and the mission and who's behind it. That's really important, because would you rather put your money into someone who is believes in what they're doing, confident, or shy, timid, doesn't really care, and just isn't a good person? It's just right, just pure logic, guys. Like, come on. 6th point is pay attention to what people do, not what they say. And this goes back to what I opened up with. We need to see the world and people for how they are, not for how we want it to be or for how people say they want it to be. Because the truth is, it's a dark, cold world out there. And once you understand that people will say things but don't do them, and that people will say things like, think about, I'm guilty of this, you're guilty of this. Right. What I was saying, what we're both guilty of is doing things, saying things, and not doing them. There have been times in my life where I said I'm going to go to the gym, but I didn't go to the gym. There have been times in my life where I said I was going to wake up early, but I didn't wake up early. But that's becoming less and less as you actually understand your reason as to why you're doing things and your why behind it all. And this also comes from getting deep with individuals on sales calls. And this is really important in the heaven portion of the discovery call, because this is exactly what we need to pay attention to. When people talk about their dreams and ambitions for what they envision in their company, why haven't they hit those goals? Because at the end of the day, you're going to realize that it comes down to the individual themselves. Yes, there can be some external circumstances that kind of prohibit some of those goals long term, but and guys, this is really important when it comes to the discovery portion or the heaven part of the discovery call, because when people talk about everything they envision for the company and all the good things, all the future goals that they want to hit and all the markers that they have in mind, why haven't they hit those already? You have to understand that people just say things to say them, and sometimes they don't mean it. And that's truth across most people in life. They just say things that they don't mean. And if this person actually believed in what they were doing, why haven't they hit those goals? And it's really important to understand and dig deep here, past just the surface level things that they say. And you need to understand that this point is extremely important, and you need to pay attention to what people do, not what they say. If things have been pretty stagnant for the last several years, why has it been stagnant for the last several years? You've been doing 5 jobs a month for the last 2 years, and you're telling me that you have all these goals that you have in mind, but really haven't been able to hit those goals. Why? Why? Like, just just ask why and get deep. And you're not annoying these people either. You want their emotions to come out, because again, you want them to discover the truth about their situation, and that's that they're not where they want to be for reasons they might not like. And I hope these 6 lessons kind of give you guys a little bit more value and an understanding of people on these calls, and that you need to hold people accountable. You can't let them off the hook. You have to understand who they are at the core, rather than just the surface level things that they say. And take what you can from this and apply it to your own sales calls. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks, guys. See you guys in the next.